So we're here tonight to talk. It's a training about let's talk, but not such great topics. Some things that could make us a little uncomfortable and things. And to help you feel more comfortable, I'm Kathy Schwartzhoff. I am a certified prevention specialist. I've worked at helping services for 30 years. I've been a certified prevention specialist for 25 years, and I've done youth mentoring for 23 years. And the great part of that is I am always learning every day of more about who people are and what helps people build relationships and things like that. So that's kind of a little bit about me. And so we're going to just hop right into things here. Some key points that we're going to be reviewing tonight in the next hour is how youth mentoring connects with this topic about talking about difficult topics, what some of those topics are. And then also things to think about before you have a discussion with someone. And then to give you some real words of how do I start this? What are some ideas that I can think of? What are some things that will help you get started? And then what a nice format is for a talk. And really, it shouldn't be that you have one difficult discussion in life. It should be more than one topic, or more than one talk, I should say. And then we're going to look at some situations and kind of look at what we would do in those particular things, some key things that people have researched that help to have that conversation be much easier. And all along, you're going to be getting ideas for your own personal toolbox. And of course, we'll be ending with questions or comments and that kind of thing, and then also do an evaluation at the end. And then the next thing we're going to discuss is how does youth mentoring connect with this difficult topics? And of course, we're working with youth all the time, so that is a big connection. And youth between the ages of 6 and 16 are connected with the adult role model, a positive adult role model in Almaquee, Delaware, Howard, and Winneshiek counties. And mentors can be just a one-on-one experience, an individual, they can be couples, and they can be families. And one of the things that is really awesome is in our program, we have some goals that the youth, we want them to aspire to. And they're things like having a positive self-esteem and having positive relationships with others, social skills, get some strengthening of those, to have a feeling of a positive future, to have a good attitude towards school and provide new experiences. And there are two others that are about strengthening their ability to resist to use drugs or resist to be involved in problem gambling. So those are our 10 program goals that we have. And so this definitely fits because part of the difficult situations that we're going to talk about is substance abuse prevention and could also be problem gambling. But everything that we talk about tonight can be transferred in your thought process to think, oh, this, maybe before tonight you thought, oh, I'm really kind of thinking about, I want to talk to this youth that I care about this topic, and you don't know how to bring it up. You don't know what you should do next. That's why you're here. So just tell yourself if there's an example of that we're going to talk about suicide, that if what you're thinking about is peer pressure, then you just say to yourself, I can do some of these same strategies with this, or maybe I'd approach it a little bit differently with this. So just keep that in mind. And of course, a big part of we have been doing presentations on substance abuse prevention throughout this whole year. And that is a goal that was given to us when we accepted some wonderful funding from the Iowa Department of Public Health. And that's another reason that we are doing these grants too, is to fulfill some goals, but also to help people that are mentors. And there's many of you on the call, parents of mentees and parents in general. Those who are working in youth serving agencies, and folks that care about youth are the folks that are on tonight. So we're really glad you're here. And I will do a very short commercial to tell you that we are always looking for mentors, and we have been fortunate throughout doing some of these presentations. 3 people have come forward and first of all said, I didn't even know this was in our area. And then the second thing, I want to be a mentor. That's the part we love to hear, is I want to be a mentor. And talk to other people too about mentoring, because sometimes if you're not able to do it, it's a minimum of 4 hours a month. You spend time doing things that you enjoy. And it's a very, very fulfilling type of experience. So our website is down there at the bottom of the presentation, and you can contact me or Meg if you're from Delaware County as well. So we're going to just keep scooting along and get into some of these topics. So we're going to be using what's called a Jamboard, and we're going to look at some topics that you're comfortable talking to youth about, and some that they may make you nervous. And Cindy is going to be putting into, or maybe she already has, into the chat box, this website or URL for you to put this into your browser. Or what's even easier, if you can get at the chat, you just see it in the chat, click on it, and then it'll take you right to the Jamboard. So we encourage you to do that. If you don't have the visual, just stick with us, unmute yourself when we get to asking some of the questions and tell us what you're thinking, or put something in the chat because Cindy's going to be reading those for you. So I am going to get out of the PowerPoint because I can't do all that, and I'm going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to reshare and go to the Jamboard. And can you all, are some of you at least on the Jamboard? Did you get there successfully? Some people have added stuff that is so cool. Okay, so just to explain, on the left-hand side, there are several icons. There's a pen on the left-hand side. I don't recommend you use that because it makes you look like you're a 3rd grader and you don't know how to write. The second one's an eraser. There's an arrow, and then there's a little icon that looks kind of like a notebook, and hover over that. It's a sticky note. Click on it and then put in whatever idea that you have. You can change the color, and you can see that people have already said things that they enjoy doing are something that somebody is comfortable talking to youth about. So that's what we're doing, is making a list of things that you are comfortable talking with youth about. Somebody else said feelings, pop culture, that's a good one. Movies, music, those kinds of things. Pets, I absolutely love that one, because who can't relate to talking about pets? Everybody can. And then body safety, internet safety, bullying, social emotional learning, safe dating. And some of you may see that one and go, gosh, I'm not comfortable with that. And that's the beauty of looking at this too, is that idea that some people have things that they're comfortable with, but it doesn't mean that you all are comfortable with it. Somebody else mentioned school, work activities, music, friends, movies, games, clothes. That's an interesting one. Yeah, self-confidence. That's a great one. I love that one. Super. Okay. Oh, consent and talking about dating violence. I bet that's one of the Riverview folks that can share about that. Cindy, is there anything being shared in the chat that we need to hear about?
No, Kathy, not at this time. The only thing I would ask, Dominique has joined us. I don't have a last name for Dominique.
Okay, and Dominique, if you can just kind of put that in the chat when we get back in there, you can put it on a post-it note if you are on the Jamboard. It just helps us to document who's here today, and we don't share it with anybody else. You also could email it to me if you choose to, and or just wait till we get back into the PowerPoint and you can feel a little better with the chat. The other thing I wanted to say too is, I know some of you are new at working at your computer and stuff, and be okay if you're listening, because I know myself personally, the first time I tried to do a Jamboard, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna lose the person and I won't be able to get back to it. So just know that it's okay wherever you are, we welcome you. So, okay, we're gonna switch to the next Jamboard, and this will be our last one. Topics that make you nervous to discuss. And notice weather is not on here. So start adding whatever you kind of get squirmy thinking about. People are thinking. And occasionally we've had it where people aren't having this one work and we haven't been able to figure it out. Here we go. Maybe there's just a delay. Bullying, poor school situations. Sexual assault, sex, safe sex. Yes, those are difficult ones. Mental health, self-harm, bullying, assaults, negative family dynamics. Excellent. Puberty. Very good. Friendships, relationships, social media. Boy, you guys are great at sharing. This is wonderful. Puberty. Oh, golly, yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you all for sharing. That was really good. I think it's a great kind of way to generate ideas. And I'm going to go back to sharing the screen and go back to our PowerPoint. Thank you for doing that. And kind of the purpose of doing that was so that we did kind of get ourselves into the thought process of where is my comfort level? And there we go. So we already saw that guy. All right. So the next thing that we are going to look at is to just kind of start getting into that framework of thinking about how do we talk about these topics, and to just kind of give yourself a little pep talk that there are many things in that last Jamboard that you did that make you squirm and that are kind of uncomfortable, and know that even the rock star parent or the rock star mentor or the rock star youth serving agency person, they can feel uncomfortable too. And just know that it's okay. And one story, my drama teacher in high school, who was a huge impact in my life, he always said that it's okay to be nervous about things that are important. And I think that's a good thing to remember, is when you're kind of going, oh boy, this is a little tough. That tells you that this is important to talk about. So kind of some things to remember are we can immunize against risky behaviors. And that sounds odd to say, but just as when children are younger and we don't want them to get those childhood diseases, or we right now during COVID decide that we want to get the vaccine because we want to not get COVID in the future, we immunize against those diseases. So you can also immunize against risky behaviors by talking about them and getting it out in the open and having that open door policy with the youth that you're working with. And two, kids are going to get information from whatever resources that they choose to. And if you're offering information that is accurate and is from a reliable source, that will give them some good tools that they can think about in the back of their head as they're trying to decide what they're going to do in a particular situation. And two, as the next point says, it kind of clears up any misconceptions or any myths that they may think that are the absolute truth, because that's what Barney said, that, and Barney's my best friend. And another concept is to just kind of think of this whole process as part of the youth's general health and safety. And so, in a way that helps to kind of say to yourself, oh yeah, this is part of what I do as a role model or a parent or a person that is working with youth. I care about this person. I want to make sure that I help prepare them for life as best they can. And then to use teachable moments, and you're going to hear this more than once tonight. Something that comes up that you see, you hear, talk about those things. If it's TV, if it's what they're reading, if it's a video game, talk to them about what you see and can use it as a teachable moment. And then to keep things calm. If everybody gets in an uproar, there's not going to be much that happens that helps in the process. And then to show the youth that you are really learning and that you can be there for them. So some other things to kind of think about to prepare yourself for this process is, don't say to yourself, this is going to be perfect. I'm going to rock this out of the park and it's going to be absolutely perfect. You can tell yourself you're going to do your best. That's wonderful. But don't expect perfection. It's okay to kind of mess up and say, and, stumble a little bit. And maybe you took some notes that you wanted to share and you look at your notes or something. Just do the best you can. And then to be prepared for some uncomfortable responses or even uncomfortable body language, blank stares, or looking down or playing with their phone, or even some anger and those kinds of things, depending on what you're talking about. And remember, too, that no matter what age the child is, you want to reassure them that it's about their health and their safety and that you care about them. Very, very important. And kids don't need every single detail of every single item. One thing that somebody told me once is it's really good to give a little bite of something one time. And then another time, give a little snack about that particular topic. And then another time, give them a meal and kind of put more into it, just depending on what the situation is and things. But you don't want to give a lecture, because I think we've all been there and it's not very comfortable. And then too, on that perfection note, you don't want to wait. You don't want to tell yourself, oh, this has to be the perfect time. Things come about I remember one time with my mentee, she asked a question about body image as we were driving down the road, and I didn't have a car wreck, but it was kind of that feeling of, oh my gosh, we're going to talk about this in the car. This isn't how I envisioned it. I envisioned it sitting down and talking and she sees me, kind of thing. And that's actually very common for youth to say something in the car because they know you're paying attention to the driving, but they really know they've got you right there and they feel comfortable asking. And that's the thing that's really cool, is when they feel that comfort level, you can be like, okay, this is perfect, from the sense that they feel comfortable. And then to remember, your child or your mentee is very unique. They've got needs, they've got things that they can talk about. Some kids have a bazillion questions, other kids don't talk at all. And so just remember that it's okay. Whatever happens, happens. And as I said, if you want to take some notes on the particular topic ahead of time of things that you want to talk about, or a key message that you want to talk about, and we're going to get into this a little bit later. I kind of have seen it called the key message that you want to bring home, and make sure that they understand. If you want to make some notes about that, that's okay. And you don't have to have all the answers either. You can help look up information from reliable sources and things as well. And then to think about options to help them figure out what to do, because it's not about us, it's about the youth that you're working with. And people are a lot more receptive to change, or to thinking about something that's a little awkward when they've helped in the decision process. And so those things are just really helpful to remember in this whole process of discussion. Okay, we're going to jump right into conversation starters. And before we do, does anybody have any questions or any ahas or anything in the chat that would be helpful to discuss at this point?
Yeah, there's nothing in the chat, but I did want to mention, I, as far as a resource, have used you to run some ideas off of. So I want to add that I find your support very valuable in helping services. So that's all I wanted to add.
And thank you, Cindy. And that's a really great point, is in our mentoring program, we do have mentoring coordinators assigned to specific mentors. You don't do this alone. You talk to us about things. And even as professionals, Riverview folks can attest to this, you need to have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of confidentially and take care of yourself. And even as parents, you need to find those friendships in your life of people that don't talk about everything to everybody, but keep your information confidential. Find those ways to take care of yourself so that you can feel equipped to help kids in this journey, because boy, their world's a lot different than what I grew up in, and we've got some generations here that can attest to that. So that's a great point, Cindy. Thank you. So just to give you kind of some sound bites of things to think about, or to start that actual conversation. And I mentioned this first one a little bit earlier, that use something that you saw or you heard about, whether that's you went on a walk and did you see that person vaping in the park just now, or you saw something on the news, or you see somebody in a movie drinking excessively. Those are just things that will help you kind of just start that conversation, and you don't have to have a lengthy conversation. And in fact, research has shown that having more short conversations is more effective than having lengthy ones where there's accusations and uncomfortableness, and it's much better to have those short ones. Another concept of conversation starters is kind of just starting with, here's where we are, now we're going to talk about it. I have something I need to discuss with you. As an example, I'd like to talk to you about alcohol use. And note that says I'd like to talk to you about alcohol use. It does not say I'd like to talk to you about your alcohol use. And depending on the situation, you might have to change that. to be fitting what you're discussing. And then two, you can use this training as a way to have a conversation starter. Hey, I went to this training last night and I really learned these great ideas. Let's sit down and chat. And then two, a really highly effective conversation starter is to ask the person to help clarify things for you. If that is seeking their knowledge and getting, in this example, I'm curious, is there a lot of drug use by kids at your school? Another example, oh, I need your help with just what happened. Do you have a few minutes to talk? And so those are just some little sound bites for you to help you get started in the conversation. And sometimes I think starting it is the part that we hesitate the most with. But just remind yourself it's not, there's not a perfect time, and kind of give yourself some ways, think about how you're going to start it. And that's part of why you're here, is to get some ideas as well. Okay, this next slide is probably my favorite of them all. It gives us a little format, or I like to call it a framework of how to have that discussion. And you can have this related to any topic whatsoever. So, yes, Cindy.
Just before you go on, Colleen had wrote that on the last topic that the monthly question that you put out for mentoring is also a good lead.
Oh, yes. In mentoring, we have a monthly question that we give to our mentors and parents and guardians. And it's various topics, but often substance abuse prevention related. And those topics can be great conversation starters. And we've got one girl that every time she gets together with her mentor, she always goes, okay, what's the question this month? And that's kind of cool that she's excited to talk about it. And sometimes there are things like, what is a person of integrity or something like that. And if you're interested in that, we can give you some of those topics, those real short little questions to ask as well. Great. Thank you, Cindy. So back to this framework. The first process, or first part of it, is to just kind of start things and keep it simple. I have something to talk to you about. You've been giving some hints that you're struggling with your gender and identity. Pull up a chair, kind of let's chat kind of thing. And then a really, really important part of this framework is to identify emotion. And like in this example, there can be more than one emotion. I know this can be confusing and scary. And you can certainly pause after that and watch their body language and, even say, is that how it feels for you? And so that they can get some of their concerns out. And they may not say anything, and that's okay too. This next part is so vital. Reiterate a truth. Say something, this is that bring it home message, something that you want to be sure that if there's nothing else that your youth that you care about hears, what's that message? And it can be related to, like this one says, I want you to know that I'm here for you and I will support you as you're figuring things out. So what's that key truth? And it could be something about alcohol is really dangerous at your age. That could even be a truth as well. And then follow up by asking, what can I do to support you? Or some kind of question that asks about how they're doing or how they're feeling. And then end by saying, if you have any questions or just want to talk, I'm here for you. Now, this framework doesn't have to be in this order. It doesn't have to be the only thing you talk about. In fact, it really shouldn't be the only thing that you talk about. But if you're not getting much discussion happening, it's okay that you gave them that little snack, and your key message is that you wanted them to know that you support them. And that's the important part, is get that key message in there. So does this framework, does this resonate with y'all? Is it something that you think that you could try doing some of that? I hope they're shaking of heads. All right. And just be reminded too that you are going to be getting the PowerPoint as well. And so that won't be the last time that you see this. Now we're going to jump into a scenario. In this example, it's more for a parent that they would see some marijuana in doing laundry. But even as a mentor or someone that cares about youth, they could drop their backpack and something falls out. And here you are. How do you address substance use? So some things to think about, of course, is it's going to be different with different ages of kids. And we are going to break down what some of those age recommendations are. And if some of you got to look over, if you pre-registered, we sent you some of this information about different ages when you registered. So with the preschool youth up to age 7, we need to really educate children about helpful use and harmful use. So if you think about, you don't want to say to the youth, these are bad drugs and these are good drugs. Those words kind of have some judgmental kinds of thoughts in them. So helpful and harmful are much better words. So that when you're giving a youth an antibiotic for their strep throat, you can talk about how this helpful medication is going to help you feel better, and your fever will go away and your throat won't hurt so much. But you also can talk about, now see how I'm measuring this, you have to take the right amount and take the right with parental or an adult supervision kind of thing. Also think about too, medications that are given for ADHD, or medications that are given for diabetes or for anxiety, and a myriad of other things. Talk to the youth about what the drug's purpose is and how it's going to help them. Again, helpful use. But if those prescription medications are used, your prescription medication is used by someone else, that's harmful. If it's too much, that's harmful. If it's not with an adult supervision, that's harmful. So just kind of keep those in mind, that harmful use and helpful use are good ways to talk about any kind of drug. And then teachable moments, we talked a little bit about that already. They may see somebody in public drinking, smoking, vaping. Take that opportunity to discuss effects that it might have on their body and what your family's views are, or if you're a mentor or someone working with the youth, what you can really key in on what it can do to their body. Those are really good things to discuss. And then 2, don't use terms that they're not going to understand. And you can usually tell by their face that they're like, what are you talking about? Kind of thing. So keep it age appropriate. And repetition is great, so that if one time you talk about harmful uses of medicine and helpful uses of medicine, and you say it over different periods of time, that's good, because I don't know about you, the first time I hear something, I don't always get it. And kids can ask you questions as well. Like the last thing says, if they ask questions, you answer them. And then 2, at this age too, you can ask them about what they know. What have you seen? Maybe at school somebody talked about a drug and they don't know what it is. They may not even say the words right. And so you can kind of help them. And then be specific about things, but also keep it simple, because this is a really young age group. to be discussing this with, but it is very important age group to talk about it, to get some of those basics, the 1, 2, 3, and the ABC kind of thing, get that down so that they understand that at a young age. And then these guys that are between the ages of 8 and 12, great way to start is to kind of ask them what they know. And you might be surprised everything that they know, or the things that they know. And they may know kids at this age who are using in some way. Very, very important to show them that you're engaged and that you really do want to talk about this, and have a sit-down conversation, or a conversation that they feel like you're really listening. And then to starting the process, just remember, when you're the one that says, I really want to talk to this about you, you're kind of opening that door of saying, hey, how can we have these conversations and know that I'm always here for you? And then to the planting the seeds is sort of similar to that, but it gives the idea too that with these age kids, they're going to need some things as they get into peer pressure situations, or they get into being offered things or to do things that are risky. To have that in the back of their head, here's what my mentor said, here's what my parent said, here's what my friend that is my neighbor that's an adult said to me, I probably shouldn't do this. So you're planting some seeds to help them. And then two, as we said, you can use the news as a springboard. And then two, if they say something that everything's not quite right, we kind of talked about this earlier, that you can kind of just gently guide them back to what is appropriate and what is accurate. So those are those kind of tweens or tweenagers, or not quite teenagers. So let's jump into that group of teens. My PowerPoint's deciding it. There we go. With those age groups, again, you can learn from their personal experiences. They've certainly heard of other kids using at this point. And then many teenagers are still willing to talk about share their thoughts and their concerns with someone who cares about them, and use these opportunities to ask them some questions and help them just keep that ball rolling in that discussion. A great thing to talk about at this age is legalities of what can happen if you get an OWI, or what can happen if you get caught with a drug. And that can be legal things, but it also can be consequences. If you're their mentor, you can say, what would your parents think if that happened? Or if you're anybody, you can say, what would happen at your school? What's your policy? Tell me more about that. Would you be out of the play that you're working on? Or would you not be able to dance in your group? Or would you not be able to be in your sport that you love? And that can really hit home to some kids of like, wow, I guess I really need to think about this, and it's not worth it. And then too, another idea can be that you put it in writing. Some parents like to fill out a little contract that was real popular a couple years ago. Some people just have an oral agreement that, hey, if you need a ride home, if there's somebody that's been drinking or using a drug and you don't have a ride, call me. Or if you're using, I will come and get you because I want you to be safe. So those are more parental things, but other folks, you can even talk about goals, and then do some writing out of things of what's important to you and how your goals are affected by using any kind of drug. And one thing to just think about is when you are writing something down, you are using 3 different kind of functions in your brain. There's the talking process, because you're talking as you're doing this. There's also the visual that you can see it. And then two, there's the actual writing, and the youth should be the one that's doing the writing. But if they don't want to do it, you can help in the process, but it'd be better if they did it, because that brings in their body movement, and that helps in your brain and development and learning and behavior change. So it's really good to kind of get them involved in that. And then to be clear about that you care about them, and that you want them to be the healthy and wonderful person that you've gotten to know, rather than getting those drugs that affect behavior and change a lot of things. And it's great if you can learn the lingo of what drugs are out there and what it's called to do particular drugs. And next year we'll be doing some things, some trainings on that, so that folks can know the kind of newest trends related to particular drugs. But you can always look things up on the internet, and we are going to give you some great websites to look at here later on. And some people too, I can attest to that when I used to sometimes say lingo to my kids, they would be like, "Mom, you're not quite saying that right." And then it all kind of made us laugh, and that was okay. So that's those teenagers. So most of what we've been talking about so far has been about prevention. This next section that we're going to talk about is related to what if you do actually find that drug and they're actually using. What are some things to think about? And I'm going to go ahead and click on to the next page, because it gets into some of these each point. So this talks about unity, and for parents, you don't want to do the blame game. You don't want to be like, "Oh, hey, we need to talk about your drinking," or "Hey, this is all your fault." You don't want to do that. As mentors, parents, and other people who care about youth, if it feels comfortable to you, you could talk to the parent and agree on a position that you'd like to take together, if that feels comfortable for you. If it doesn't, then you can just share with the youth what your feelings are and how that affects their body and how that affects your relationship. And you don't ever want to say, "Oh, because you use, I'm not going to be talking to you anymore," or anything. It would be about, I care about you and I want to be sure that you're healthy and happy, and that using can get in the way. So hopefully that made sense. And like I said, to remind the youth that you care about them is just really, really key to all of this. So then, this is something that can happen, especially when you're talking to the youth and perhaps they've talked about this at home, or you're the parent and they point to you and point their finger at you and say, "Hey, I know that you drink," or "Hey, I know that you smoke." And the hypocrite word's kind of a hard one to hear. It can set off some triggers, and you can be like, "Oh, now I'm kind of mad about this situation. I'm even more mad than I was before." And don't kind of buy into that. Just be prepared that you could be called a name. Be prepared that there could be lots of emotions that come about, but just kind of take it slow. And also, there may be a situation where you may want to look at your own use, and you can go to a resource here. We've got the website for Your Life Iowa that you can go online 24/7 and look to see. There's a quiz that you can take and see if there are any concerns that you have. And the other thing that's important in this particular area is to be sure that you emphasize to the youth that some drugs are certainly legal, like alcohol and tobacco, and even vaping products that have tobacco in them at your adult age. You can use those things, But since they are younger than that, it is not legal for them to use it. And two, we're talking about you, the youth, we're not focusing on me as the adult. So those are some things to keep in mind related to that. And then two, as we said, there certainly can be some anger that comes out. There can be other feelings, and you really need to listen to what they're saying. And boy, look at this guy's face. He looks like, I'm not sure, is he mad at us? Is he, upset? Is he sad? Is he lonely? Just explore some of those feelings and listen. And maybe some words that may help you is, I understand that you're angry. Do you think this guy might feel betrayed? I don't know, and then have them just share with you. Again, the most important message that you want to share to any youth in this situation where there's possible substance use is, I care about you. So that's your primary thing that you want to get at. And a little visiting about rules and consequences can help in that process to kind of get the why behind there are those rules, because I think sometimes that's the thing that kids get real upset about is, I don't understand why. But two, they may just be really angry that a rule or a consequence was their parent said you're grounded for a week or something, or however long. They may not be ready to accept that yet, and just know that's part of dealing with loss. And but you also can talk to them and reiterate to them that rule was made because, boy, they care about you. So, and like we said earlier, maybe you could even write down a little, write down some pros and cons of why this rule is in place or why this consequence is there, to just kind of give you some ideas to think about. And then just one thing we just really have to mention related to substance use is family history can be a big part of substance abuse. And addiction in a family can put young people at greater risk and could create even bigger reasons for them to avoid substances. And as a mentor, you may not know all the family history, or if you're their employer, you may not know all their family history. But again, you can just even say, hey, I don't know if this is in your family at all, but you really do need to think about if it is. It kind of puts you at it does put you at a higher risk rate of having possible abuse. So keep that in mind as part of your discussion. And again, you don't want to have this all in that meal at first. You just want to give it in small little increments. And I think this is the last one in this section, I'm not sure. But anyway, ask how you can support them. Ask and listen, don't lecture. If they've used substances, you can certainly try to explore the reasons for that. They may not be coming up with reasons to share with you at that point, but it does give them some thoughts to think about. And then two, as we had in that little framework, ask how you can be their ally, ask how you can help them. What are some things that I can do to help you? And they may not come up with something right away, but the next day or 3 days from then, they could say, hey, remember that talk we had? I really need this. And they can be like, man, I'm here. I'll do it with you. So, and know how and when to intervene. Again, that Your Life Iowa just has so many great resources, and I don't get paid to say that. It's just really, really great information for folks to look at. And it's where you're thinking about things and you can talk to people. So our next scenario kind of puts it into a mentor framework. And if you're not a mentor, you can say, oh, if this was my child, or if you're in another way, you can be like, oh, this is somebody I know that says, gosh, I really don't feel so good about my body. I even think I feel fat. How do you talk about body image to a young person? So some things to think about is that our world today is very stuck on beauty and youth, and everything's kind of about that. But we need to help the young men and women that we know um, to just kind of understand all of that. So some things to think about is to sympathize with them. And the first time I saw this word, I was like, I don't know if I want to use the word sympathize. And actually, it wasn't my word. It was Gail Salt's word that was talking about how to help your daughter with a healthy body image. The definition of sympathize is to understand someone else's suffering. So you can certainly relate to them any of your own struggles that you have and speak how you overcame those. And then another thing is to model body comfort and to really talk about how, we need to feel good about ourselves no matter what's happened. And we all do the best that we can, and encourage them to eat healthy. And then to enlist all types of body role models of all different body shapes that, and their words can make a big impact, their actions make a big impact. And it's good for them too to know that everyone's not like me. They're a little different, but yet they carry this great presence and attitude. And then to avoid sexualizing things. There's so many things that kids have exposure to, like we talked about earlier, that we just want to have them understand values and respect, and to support them in today's world. And a big part of body image is, that's great to have some exercise. It helps you with those endorphins and helps you feel like changes your attitude sometimes. And then too, you can certainly have a discussion about clothing choices, and it is okay to either say no to what they're wearing or to talk about their personal wardrobe choices. And that can be related to how much skin they're showing. It also can be related to respect and if you're going to a funeral, you're not going to wear the same thing as you would at the races on Saturday night. So those are those items. And this next scenario is about peer pressure. It just kind of says, what do you do when somebody tries to get you to do something that you don't want to do? And some things to think about is don't overreact. Just kind of take a deep breath. Talk about the importance of true friends, and true friends are going to understand if you say no. Get to know their crowd. That doesn't mean you're their best friend, but you do know who they are and why they're a good friend. And then you can certainly role play peer pressure so that they can see what that looks like and what that feels like, and gets comfortable talking about words that you're saying. And then to the importance for them of when they say no, to do it well so that their friend understands, when I say no, that's what it means. Very important. So some helpful resources for you is the Your Life Iowa website, and also talk2kids.org. And then the Talk They Hear You campaign is a wonderful campaign that's directed towards middle school youth. And I'm going to try to zip out of this. We're going to try to watch a video quick and see if this works out. And it is very parent oriented, but I think it's good that you can see how this all works. And first, can you see the Talk They Hear You screen?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to start, and tell me if you can hear it. Can you hear that?
If you're talking, they'll hear you.
Okay, good.
Every single time. Allow the words to break through by seeing eye to eye. We all mean something special to each other's lives. So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
It's all right, man. We're good next time. It's really good to see you.
And I'm going to skip forward. I'll just tell you that one of the boys couldn't play on the team because he was drinking. And we're going to get into the point where the dad actually has the conversation.
It's something special to each other's lives. So talk, they hear you. You can do it.
Hey, pal.
Hey, where's Mom and Katie?
Mom's picking her up. I wanted to get you so we could talk about something.
What'd I do?
I'm not sure. That's why I wanted to talk. I heard about Kyle and why he's off the team.
Yeah?
Mom and I were surprised. We hadn't really been thinking about kids your age starting to try alcohol. Have you tried it?
No. I mean, I've been around kids that have, like Kyle. I mean, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. We realized today we haven't really been clear about alcohol and what we expect. It's really important to us that you do not drink alcohol.
Okay.
There are a lot of reasons why. Most important is that we care about you. At your age, alcohol can damage your brain development. It messes with your judgment, so you can end up doing dangerous, risky, or just plain stupid and embarrassing things. And there are consequences. At school, on your teams. Look at Kyle.
Yeah. I get it.
Good. We also know it can be hard to turn down alcohol if your friends are drinking. But all you have to do is say, no thanks, it's not my thing. You've got so much going for you, Tim. You don't need it. And your real friends aren't going to care if you don't drink.
No thanks. It's not my thing. I can do that.
I'm proud of you, Tim. Your mom and I are here for you anytime you have questions or need help. With this or anything else.
Thanks, Dad.
Okay, so I know we're running over just a bit, and I'm going to get back to the PowerPoint. There's only one slide left, but it gives you the evaluation that we need you to fill out. And let's see, I'm not really doing what I want to do here. Hang on with me, folks. I will do a commercial too that, yep, we're having a training in June, and we'll get you more information about that. The last thing is that we do have an opportunity. You can ask questions, but really go to this website. Cindy is going to put in the Talk Eval website, or the URL for you to fill out an evaluation, and it's really quick. It'll take you less than 5 minutes. We really need you to do that, and if you haven't done it in the next few minutes or the next hour, I will send you that website so that you can get it. It's https://www.bit.ly/talk-eval. And then to our final commercial is, if you want to be a mentor, we encourage you to do that. So does anybody have, what questions do you have, or any comments that you have?
Nothing in chat other than people saying, thanks, Kathy.
Awesome, great. And please do that evaluation. So glad that so many of you were here tonight. We're really, really glad that you all came. And I'm going to leave this screen up for a while so that you can grab that, that address to get that evaluation to me. So thank you so much, and you all have a good night.
Thank you.
Yep, bye-bye.